So my youth hopped as a cop chopped my heart's lock. Open up, I'm full of love and susceptible to the crap the snake talks.
Have I made mistakes in life? 100%. Do I regret any of it? Not really. Because if you don't look at it as an accomplishment of learning and growing, then really it's just a burden. So, stay happy.
I thought I was on my own. Started to learn to grow. Started to learn to be a better man.
Thought I was talking slow. Started to burn the low, started to find myself a better man.
My goal for 2020 is to beat cancer. I would love to start show jumping in 2021.
My goal for 2021 is to become a better drummer than I was in 2020.
Started, I've departed with the part of me that's guarded and that's partial to the parts of being stuck in places hard to see. I ain't COVID, but it's getting hard to breathe. I'm starting to see parts of me in heartless that are hard to beat. I'm flying, but I'm drowning, fat with starving, getting hard to eat.
I think young people in particular have a natural ability or a natural connection to be able to connect, use music to connect with, to share their identity, to connect with their peers and develop that sense of belonging. I wonder if you remember being a young person and how important music was to you, particularly in your well-being and supporting your mental health. Mental health is something that we're going to have to work harder on supporting, particularly our young people. And youth mental health advocates for a long time have been calling for greater attention to the social aspects of young people's mental health and also recovery from mental illness. But in models that emphasize community group-based therapies, that emphasize the social aspects of mental health and mental health recovery. Just today, at the announcement of significant government support for young people's mental health, Professor Pat McGorry stated that community is where mental health care has to be provided with expert care. And despite this, there aren't actually that many group-based community programs for youth mental health. So this is where Aardvark comes in. Our vision is to create a space where every young Australian has access to songwriting and music opportunities that's needed for social, emotional and music development to overcome adversity and thrive. We are an ongoing community dedicated to providing music-based opportunities while fostering inclusion across race, gender, age, religion, ability, identity and experience. We create unique opportunities for our participants and pathways that encourage growth. So right now I'm really excited to invite Sarah to share with you how Aardvark actually began. Sarah, you just need to unmute yourself.
Thank you. Rookie mistake. Okay, welcome everyone. Just a little bit of history on how we got to where we are today. In 2007, I was working as a Captain Starlight at the Royal Children's Hospital, dressing up in costume and entertaining kids. I found at the time that the magic tricks and the silly dancing and all that kind of stuff didn't really work with the teenagers like it did with the little kids. So I found myself using my music background to do a bit of songwriting with the teenagers that were coming into the Starlight Room. At the same time, I was recording at a studio called 30 Mills Studios in Brunswick. And Colin Wynne, the engineer there, had given me a 12-hour grant to come in and do a little bit more recording. So there was a particular day in the Starlight Room where there was a young girl called Tamron Stevens who was 14 at the time, and her and I had written a song together, which was a very uplifting song. And it was this day that she was going in to have a kidney transplant. And I was decked out in my full Captain Starlight crown and cape and boots, and I was pushing her bed into her kidney transplant, because often we would go all the way up to the surgery door with the young people. And it just struck me to say to her as she was going in that I knew I had this grant. So I said to her, when you come out, Tam, we're going to go in the studio and we're going to record that song we wrote. And she was obviously pretty excited, also quite focused on her upcoming surgery, but also very excited. And when she came out, we did just that, went into the studio. And Colin Wynne, the engineer at the time, was so moved by this experience, as we all were, that he said, look, we've got to do this again. Bring in a group of young people next time, gather a group of young people from Starlight and get them in, and we'll do another song. So that's just what we did. And it was really at this point that we realized that the group work was where the real magic happened. We saw community building, we saw friendships between these young people, a sense of hope. They were developing skills, they were learning from each other, and they were empowering each other as well. So this project went off so well that, and also I ran this project with a friend of mine, Belle Harper, who was a manager of a not-for-profit at the time. And we sort of put our heads together and thought, look, there's obviously a need for something like this in the community that combines professional music skills development with professional artists, but also has a bit of health support in there and music therapy. And so we thought, hey, why don't we just create an organisation? Can't be too hard. It's famous last words, but look, it's been since that was nearly 15 years ago, and it was nearly impossible to stop. It was such an exciting thing to be part of, and everyone who joined felt that passion and joined in us to create this organisation, which to this day is still the only one of its kind that offers both community music, so music therapy, as well as professional musicians and the multidisciplinary approach. So at that time, we built a board. Chris Klingbeil joined us, who is still our chair to this day and provide us with office space and a whole bunch of other support. Meagan joined the board, who's now our CEO, and she was our music therapist on the board. And off we went with a little bit of funding from Arts Victoria and Alan's Music. And today, Aardvark's, we have a 7-member board. We have 6 part-time staff, which is still relatively small, but we are extremely mighty because we have this passionate community around us that have gathered over the years of volunteers, youth mentors, alumni, their families, all our different partners in the different industries, and our ambassadors. So we'll just move on to the next slide, and I'll just talk a little bit about our support within the health industry and the music industry. We've had a host of different artists work with us and even facilitate and run our programs. Gautier, Monique Brumby, who are also ambassadors. That very first recording session that I spoke of, we had Spiderbait come in and meet the kids that day. And they've been very hands-on as well, coming to workshops and that kind of thing. In the health industry, we've got a fantastic partnership with Melbourne University's Music Therapy Department. And they've conducted some great research on our program and the effects on our young people, and also provided space for us over the years to run our programs. So that's where we are today. And I'm just now going to pass back to Meagan, and she's going to let you know about the kinds of young people that we work with.
Thanks, Sarah. Thank you for your bravery and persistent inspiration and passion to start Aardvark Music. So an Aardvarkian is a young Australian who might be the age between 14 and 24, who has experienced some kind of adversity in their life. And often Aardvarkians have gone through some major transition or are going through a transition, and they come to Aardvark Music for that continuity. The transition might be around school or not going to school, from homelessness to not being homeless, from being in hospital for a long time to back into the community. Any kind of transition that impacts their life. But the connecting force is that they're a young person who has an interest and passion in music, and also wants and needs a community around them of like-minded young people. Although we have three sort of main areas that young people have come to us from with needs in mental health. They might have a chronic illness or have experienced unstable housing. Although our Aardvarkians don't neatly fit really into any kind of defined box. They're unique and they come from a multitude of experiences. Hence, we have a multidisciplinary approach of a music therapist, a songwriter, a professional songwriter, and that youth support lead, so that we can provide this wraparound service, really looking after our young people who often haven't been able to access mainstream music opportunities because of their experience. So the pathway that they can go along, they start with the Aardvark Sessions, and Liam's going to tell you a little bit about his experience soon. Would they come in as a group, about 15 young people, and our team, the 3 facilitators, take them through every step of writing songs. And eventually, after 14 weeks of weekly sessions, 3 hours a week, over the past 18 months, they have actually been online. They get to do a professional recording, hopefully in an in-person setting of the studio, but also can be online. And then after they've had that sort of product of something that they're proud of, that they've created, then they come and join the community of Aardvark Alumni, having just performed together with their new alumni peers at the album launch, which is once a year. The alumni allows them to come to monthly dig days, be part of an online community, and be part of leadership and mentor training, which then they can take advantage of the opportunities that we have: paid gigs, event management. They might even want to organise our album launch, become a peer mentor, have some work experience. Really, the opportunities, we try and provide as much as possible to support them along their journey. So I'm really excited now to invite Liam to speak. You can see Liam's smiling face there in the middle, surrounded by Sami, our music therapist, Yo, our resident songwriter, 2 of the participants, Paris and Harrison, and our youth mentor at the time, Ellie Washington. So as I said, Liam was a member of the 2020 sessions. And yeah, Liam, please share with us your experience last year.
Yeah, hi. Hi, nice to meet everyone. Aardvark. What impact has Aardvark had on my life? Wow, okay, so yeah, I joined Aardvark in the middle of last year, which was an interesting time to join. I had just spent 4 months at a rehab facility, a living facility, where I was living out in Eltham with YSAS, this other youth service, and I was extremely worried about how life was going to be when I went back home. And I was worried that I'd just fall back into old patterns. And yeah, but then one of these old ladies who was working with me, she said, I've heard you playing trumpet, you should get in contact with these folks from Aardvark. I've heard they're really good. And I was, I don't want to do that. But then I sat down with the Sami, and I had a phone call conversation. I really, really, really liked the sound of it. I really liked Sami, and it just seemed like the kind of thing that I was sorely missing out on, which was like which Meagan just mentioned, community and like-minded people. I was sorely missing out on that like school-like environment. I know a lot of people say they hate school, but I really liked it. I really liked being able to, be surrounded by people I appreciate, and I instantly was at Aardvark. I made 2 friends who are both on the screen, Paris and Harrison. I video call with both of them all the time. It is absolutely awesome. you know, I've had the opportunity to go and spend days with this guy Fossa Beats. You know, Yo, the music therapist, he organised a day where me, Paris, and Harrison were able to go and, you know, hang out in a recording studio and get some tips from this actual beat maker. And like, that was absolutely awesome. He was really cool. I really appreciated that. And then I was able to go to 30 Mills as well, that studio, and meet Colin and Colin's friend who was helping him. And both they were absolutely awesome. I got Colin's number myself, and you know, I was thinking of contacting him because I've got a song that I want to record. And yeah, so yeah, I have been extremely surprised at how far Aardvark's arms reach into the community and into everything. It is really cool. And online versus in person, that was an interesting question for me to answer, because I had no experience with in person up until the very end of last year when we came out of that 100 and something day lockdown. And yeah, it was so odd to see how tall everyone is, how small some people are, you know, how old some people look in person and how young some people actually are. And yeah, it blew my mind. We've got this guy who's like 16, 17, and he's about 6'4". And the whole time we had the 14-week online course, I was absolutely certain that he was going to be my height, and I'm quite short. And yeah, it was disheartening finding out that he was an absolute monster. Yeah. And now, has Aardvark helped me in any way? And if so, how? I have no answer other than absolutely. I really struggled for a long time there, from like 2016 to 2020, with mental health and, you know, various depression and anxiety related issues and drug abuse. And I really struggled to feel satisfied with anything that I did for a very long time. And to have to constantly collaborate and to have to settle for almost second best, because I'm not able to do everything for all of the songs. And I had a real specific vision of how my song was going to sound. And, you know, then 13 other people had their own vision of how that song was going to sound. So it was kind of hard for me to come to terms with the fact that this song wasn't going to be the song that I wanted it to be. But, you know, with Yo and Aardvark, Yo and Asami, yeah, I really think I got places. Yeah, I definitely think I got places. And I really appreciate Aardvark. I don't really know what I would be doing without it.
Thanks so much, Liam. And what do you think of the music in the end that you all produced together?
Yeah, I am pleasantly surprised. Pleasantly surprised. Yeah.
Great. I think it's awesome. I've listened to that song about 50 times, I reckon.
That one's not bad. That one is not bad.
And what would you say to a young person that's, you know, was like you, a bit reluctant, not sure what this whole Aardvark music thing is? What would you say to that person who's thinking about coming?
I completely understand, and I hear the reluctance, but you just gotta start talking to people from Aardvark, and you realize how easy it is to join, how inviting everyone is, and you know, you'll get to make new friends. I'll be your friend. Like, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Liam. Thanks for sharing your experience. Liam's going to stay on the call, and there will be time at the end of today for questions. So if any of you have any burning questions, please hold on to them, for any of us actually, but particularly for Liam, and you can ask him at the end. So the one thing I've noticed as the young people come through the Aardvark sessions, which is those initial introduction to Aardvark music, is that confidence that builds. Often at first, everyone's really unsure, what is this? Am I going to be able to contribute? Will I be able to talk to people? Often, which is only getting worse, young people haven't been in that social environment for a long time. But by the end, at their performance, you see them standing on stage performing their music that they've created to their peers, their family, and their friends. It's a huge and significant change in them. But along the way, having learnt skills, both music and social skills, building friendships, so that by the time they get to the alumni program, they're really ready to engage and take advantage of the opportunities to meet music industry professionals, maybe discover a vocational pathway, be a leader and continue that development, paid gigs, and grow, and can stay an Aardvarkian until they're 24, but then afterwards be a volunteer. We say once an Aardvarkian, always an Aardvarkian. The young people, so we run 2 rounds of Aardvark sessions a year and can have up to 15 young people in each group. We do keep the numbers small for a good reason, in that the young people do need that intensive support. Sometimes the groups are smaller than 15, but all of the young people that come through the sessions can then join the Aardvark Alumni. And our audience on social media and is ever growing at the moment. The research that we were able to do with the University of Melbourne over the past couple of years meant that we could actually quantify some of the impact that we have, which is really difficult to do when you're working with people. But we did find out that 97% of our young people have mental health challenges, and 75% said that Aardvark changed their lives. But what I like to hear most is the impact that we've had from the young people themselves. We ask them all the time, what is your experience like? And what we hear is that when they get to Aardvark, they find it's a family. It feels like a family. In fact, 85% said it feels like a family that they can talk to. And that it's a space that encourages the young people to express themselves without judgment and without that self-criticism that's often present in some young people. And that they come every week on a Monday, it's regular, they know it's a space that they can come to that's safe, that helps them to lift those struggles and their inner demons of their mental health. And this is what we hear from our young people. So now that Liam and I have shared with you a little bit about what the Aardvark sessions are and the nuts and bolts, I'm going to hand over to Cath, who will share with you a little bit more about the financial aspects of where we are now and where we'd like to be.
Thanks, Megan. I can absolutely attest to one of those testimonials, and this is probably uncommon for an external consultant to say that Aardvark absolutely feels like family. I've had the privilege of working with the board and the programs and ops teams, and it is absolutely a beautiful strength that the whole team has, is making it feel very inclusive and like a family. So thank you. And yes, thank you for letting me come and speak to you all about funding. So firstly, I'm fortunate enough to be coming to you from Durable land. Yeah, you've heard a bit about the impact, the incredible impact of Aardvark, and all of this is not possible without Aardvark's brilliant and very generous funders. So as a funder, what are we always interested to know is where does the money for the organisation come from? And also then if I am to donate or to support, where does that money go? So just to mess with people that love to follow slides left to right, I'm going to draw your attention to the right initially, so to our pie graph there. So you can see predominantly corporate sponsorship is the core for funding, and that's closely followed by philanthropy. In the middle there, you can see as well, in 2020, we were impacted by the demands on philanthropy and the demands on corporate sponsorship that were a result of, competing causes, bushfires, COVID, everything like that. And Aardvark was very fortunate to have a forward-thinking board and team to be looking at financial sustainability and how, as an organisation, Aardvark can really, perhaps take a step back, look at the operational model to see how they can expand impact, expand the programs, and expand the amount of people that can be supported. So what came through that was going for a capacity building grant, and Impact Investing Australia has absolutely validated what Aardvark intends to do in moving to a financially sustainable model. And they backed that with a $28,000 grant to build out that capacity. Thanks, Meagan. So in terms of funding and how it's spent, next slide, thank you. You can see the vast majority absolutely goes to programs, so to program delivery and also to supporting the young Australians, the Aardvarkians, or the alumni in a multitude of different ways that obviously looked quite different last year and needed a bit more support from the team. And I know, funders are always very interested in what percentage of every dollar sort of goes to operations. As you can see, it, as an overall portion of what is spent, it looks significant. However, that is just the looking at the size of the organisation, and as a dollar figure, it is quite minimal. The other things to keep in mind are that nothing is spent on external fundraising. That is all the team reaching out, using their network and really building these partnerships and taking everyone on the journey as to what the impact is that's being had. And so it's about partnership building and impact predominantly. That is also, though, why the future strategy is important. So looking at how can build out the capacity so that Aardvark can start generating its own revenue and be self-sustaining, and so supporting the operations. What that means and what the goal is that in future, any grants received, any philanthropy, any corporate sponsorship can go 100% towards supporting young people impacted in the areas that Meagan mentioned, and supporting them through programs and supporting them after the programs to stay within the community and to access those services. So after 15 years, it's time to expand the impact, expand how many people can access the programs and access the support. And how we look to do that is an initial investment of $250,000. So looking for key foundational sponsors to invest in Aardvark from that perspective. And that will go to really the outreach to schools to identify young Australians that, whilst being affected by mental ill health, whilst having a passion for music, and so really being able to be incredibly well impacted and supported by Aardvark, they do actually have the financial means to pay for a program such as that. And then in sort of focusing our attention and some of the team on attracting those participants, then we'll look to activate the sponsorship model, which is really that for every 3 paid places, we can also provide a place, this is internally, to someone without the financial means to participate. So they're the 2 longer outterm goals of this strategy. It's really to make sure that all of our external funding goes to support a place for a young Aardvarkian, and that we're self-sustaining and have our sponsorship model up and running and can sponsor a place for every 3 sold as well. So I'll hand over to Sarah to talk a bit more about our funders.
Unmute myself. Thanks, Cath. Just giving you a little bit of background on our current funders. All our funders at the moment work with us. They share our vision in the big picture. That's to support and mental health outcomes for all young Victorians, and enable a thriving arts and culture sector in Australia. And they also understand the power of music as a transformational medium. Music therapy, and also providing transferable skills and opportunities for young people to become resilient citizens in society. Obviously, our funders also understand this need that Cath is talking about for financial sustainability and scaling up our impact in this authentic way. You can see on the side there with the white, our wonderful team of current supporters and sponsors, and some of those are here today, so thank you for coming. Just moving on to the next slide. I just wanted to touch a little bit upon corporate partnership. So with all of our partners and corporate funders, we work closely together to develop a partnership that kind of fills the needs of both of the organisations. Some of the ways we do this is whether it's delivering a kind of team building exercise to staff, staff engagement opportunities, attending company events or AGMs, or having your staff come along to our album launches and our performances. We always make sure our partners are updated with the journey and the videos and the social media content and everything that's happening as we go through the year. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about Liberty Financial, who's a long time wonderful supporter of ours, nearly 10 years, I worked out next year. And one special thing about our partnership with Liberty is that each year Liberty invite our young crews to come along to their end of year party and perform. So this is not just a small staff party. This is the total staff, hundreds of staff in a venue such as the Glass House or somewhere like that. And our crews have often just written their songs and just recorded and are about to do their album launch. And they get to do this first paid gig. Liberty pays them to do a gig at this giant event. And it's such a welcoming audience because the staff from Liberty have seen the journey of these young people as they've gone along. They know a lot about Aardvark and how it works. And so when they see these young people performing at their event, it makes it all real for them. We're able to see it in real life. And it's a kind of a really emotional, beautiful performance. They always get a standing ovation, and it gives us all a lot of joy. So that's something special we do with Liberty. So thank you, Liberty, for that. So yeah, I think just moving on to the next slide to sum up the different ways that you can support us. Obviously to donate, and I'm about to go on in the next slide to talk about some of the impacts of different levels of support. And you've heard from Cath as well about this kind of big picture foundational support we're looking for our future strategy. If you're not in a position to donate, there's other ways that we'd love support as well. Obviously just joining our Aardvarkian community. Once you're an Aardvarkian, always an Aardvarkian. So that's following us on Facebook and sharing all our posts and messaging so that we can reach more young people. And even things like introductions to people within schools, whether it's the wellbeing coordinators or those kinds of staff, to help us with this next stage of our journey. In the next couple of days, we'll send out some information that if you have anyone appropriate that you could like to pass it on, please feel free to do so. That will be our corporate partnership document, and that's available on our website as well. If you want to read further about partnerships, please get in touch with myself anytime. So just moving on to the next slide, some of those funding impacts, the different levels you can have. I'll talk through those now. $50 provides a welcome pack to support engagement for a new participant. So we all know what it's like at the moment when the doorbell rings and there's a package at the door, and how exciting that is in these current times. Last year, we were able to send welcome packs to the crews, and this was really important last year because people were meeting online, to have a whole bunch of branded Aardvark bag and a pencil and notebooks and heat packs and things that will kind of make them feel like they're part of a family. So we found a very exciting and important bonding thing to do last year. We've got the 5K that will pay for one person to attend Aardvark for the whole year. So that's the entire Aardvark Sessions program, creating the professional album, and then joining the alumni for all the opportunities that come in the monthly workshops. 50,000 would sponsor an annual major event. This is something we're looking to the future for. We're looking to scale up our annual event so it becomes, whether it's a conference or a festival or something that allows more participants to take part and more fundraising, and just something a little bit big and exciting. And the 100,000 there, that would fund the running of the core programs for all those participants for one full year. Thank you. I'll pass back to you now, Megs.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And thanks to Liam and Cath for being part of the talk today, particularly Liam for coming along and sharing your experience. So that's the end of our formal part of the presentation for you all. Thank you for all coming and showing your interest